All right, welcome back to the PFF NFL show. I'm Trevor Sikkema. That is Seth Galina joining you guys for a quarterback showcase episode of the program here after week 7. And we have a buzzword show here for you. We're talking about Russell Wilson, we're talking about Jordan Love, and we're talking about Brock Purdy. You know, we're going to analyze what Russell Wilson was in his first start with the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're going to talk about Jordan Love out-dueling C.J. Stroud in Green Bay. What do we think of Jordan Love moving forward? And then what's Brock Purdy going to be able to do with a lot of his wide receiver options now down? I actually just say pass game options down overall. Which version of Brock Purdy are we going to see moving forward? How much faith do we have for him to really prove that he is that guy who is worth the next big quarterback contract, as we have talked about here a little bit before? We're going to dig into all that good stuff. Seth, how we doing, my friend?
I'm good. I'm not sure. You talked about like quarterback like buzzwords to get the people going. I'm not sure there's a quarterback in this league who doesn't get people going in one direction or another. That's how important the quarterback is, and that's how big the NFL is, and how we talk about these guys. We could talk about like Hendon Hooker and Malik Willis, and people will go crazy. Like it doesn't matter.
There will be a line in the sand no matter what, and somebody will say something one way or the other, whether they are good or not. So you're right. That's very true. That was kind of cheap of me to be able to say that, because you're right. We could say that for every single quarterback. But I do feel like the conversations with all three of these guys are interesting. Let's start with Jordan Love. I want to start with Jordan Love here because big win over the Houston Texans. This was a battle going into it between two teams that, talking about that line in the sand, there were people that thought about the Houston Texans as a top 5 team in the NFL, the Green Bay Packers as a top 5 team in the NFL, specifically when it comes to these two quarterbacks. And Jordan Love ends up completing, 24 of his 33 passes, over 200 passing yards in this one, 3 passing touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He had an equal 3 big-time throws and 2 turnover-worthy plays, although I think some of those were a little bit different in this game. You see the adjusted completion percentage and the passing grade there as well, 72.3 passing grade in this one. Essentially, what do we think about Jordan Love? Obviously he gets hurt at the beginning of the year, so there's a little bit of time. Okay, now he's coming back from injury. I think he came back a little bit sooner than I thought he was going to. So that was great to see. Now he is sort of kind of in rhythm. We've seen that over the last couple of weeks. What's your outlook here for Jordan Love, and what did you see this past week in particular in the win against the Texans?
Yeah, I mean, Jordan Love is my favorite quarterback to watch, and it's probably my favorite offense in general to watch, especially in the passing game. So I'm always excited to watch Jordan Love. I think his kind of stats, whether like traditional box score stats or even like come with some of the advanced stats that we have or grade, haven't done justice to like how really sick this guy is on the football field. And it's just super fun to watch. Like, we thought maybe this could be an MVP type season. I think we're not quite there yet. I think there's an MVP in his future, probably the way he plays. We're not quite there yet. And again, a lot of that has to do with the box score stats, right? Like his yards per attempt and his passer rating aren't at like those MVP type levels, but I think his play on the field is getting there. He makes every single throw. He's not afraid of any window. He's, I think there's some issues mechanically. He does create a lot of ground force, but at the same time, like kind of throwing off his back foot a lot, or leaning. I shouldn't say throwing off his back foot, because that's kind of like the thing now, but just leaning backwards a lot. And it actually does show up in the numbers in terms of his amount of underthrows and things of that nature, like where the ball is being thrown to accurately. But other than that, like everything is amazing. He throws a beautiful deep ball over the shoulder.
Yeah.
He's got, and again, like this offense from Matt LaFleur, which they really don't do a lot. You know what I mean? Like it's like they have like 6 core passing concepts and they just dress them up in a ton of different ways and they get people open, especially over the middle of the field, where we've talked about this before. Like some quarterbacks, their play style is just gonna disallow them from throwing over the middle of the field. That's just not what they want to do. But when you can pair up what LaFleur wants to do, which is create these combinations over the middle of the field, high lows on linebackers, and you have a quarterback who wants to throw them, you're gonna get these great these again, these 6 plays, these really great plays, quarterback plays. So excited. They're winning games, even without really a great run game. When you just look at handoffs to the running back, the numbers are skewed when you add in the Malik Willis game. But when you just look at handoffs to the running back, they're not great. Jacobs has been good breaking tackles, but they haven't been able to block anyone on the offensive line in terms of the run game. So doing this without a run game, just kind of throwing deep every play, like it's fun. That's all I had to say. It's just super fun and it's exciting going forward.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And when you look at Love's numbers, you're right. It feels like they don't do the vibes justice of like how good this player is, right? Because when you look at big time throws, I'm looking at it now since week 4, which is when he came back. Jordan Love, he's got a 3.3% like big time throw percentage. So how often he is making a big time throw per his passing attempts. And then when it comes to turnover worthy plays, it's a little bit higher. It's 3.6%. But I feel like I feel like there's so much more good than bad with Jordan Love. And I think that right now it's sort of in the middle with him coming back. But like we saw during the second half of last season, I think that we're in a situation where Love could absolutely explode like from this point on. And when you get a win like the one that they had against the Houston Texans, I feel like it could be a big-time catalyst. And you go back and you watch some of the throws in the game, you bet, like, it's sick. Like, the way that he's playing the quarterback position is awesome. There's so much confidence in the way that he is operating. And again, it's like we could sit here and, tell you certain numbers and things like that. But at this point in time, it just feels like his play, his presence, aura, as the kids say, is better than the numbers that we have out there right now for him. And I think that we are on the cusp of him really hitting the gas again like he did during the second half of last season. There were a couple of throws that I watched from the Houston game that I was able to rewatch, and it's like, all right, man, like, you're putting this one into harm's way a little bit here. And I think that's why people kind of talk about Jordan Love as a little bit of a roller coaster, or like as a wild man quarterback. But I just go back to what you said. He's not afraid of any throwing window. He is not going to back down from any throw that he believes is the right throw. And the fact of the matter is, you've got to have that mentality at the NFL level. It's not always going to be perfect. Of course you don't want to put the ball into harm's way. Of course you don't want to throw turnover-worthy plays. But in this league, with how small the margin is, how good these defense coordinators are, how good these NFL athletes are on the defensive side of the football, it's going to happen. It's natural. So you can't totally, in my opinion, look at these turnover-worthy plays, especially if they are at an understandable level, and say to yourself, like, okay, like, you really got to count these against him. Because you have to be able to attempt some of these throws. Now, not all turnover-worthy plays are created equal. Like, you could still have a turnover-worthy play, but one turnover-worthy play might be a -2 in our category, and some might be like a minus, I don't know, 0.5, 1. And so, like, even turnover-worthy plays themselves can be terrible. You really don't want to make the boneheaded decisions. But when I look at the turnover-worthy plays for Jordan Love, I don't think they're boneheaded decisions. Like, I don't think it's like, dude, you're going to lose your team the game if you keep doing this stuff. Even throwing off the back foot, some of the throws that I saw off the back foot against Houston, it's like, all right, well, he's kind of giving his guy a chance here. He's throwing the ball up, and actually it was a nice pass, all things considered, and he's giving his guy a chance. And so, to me, even when I look at the turnover-worthy plays for Jordan Love, they are within the context of he is attacking a throwing window that you have to mentally be okay, not only be okay with, be confident in attempting if you want to win at the highest level in this league. So I'm of the same thought process that you are, where his good outweighs the bad right now. And I don't think the numbers reflect that quite yet, but I think that is coming for Jordan Love based on how he is playing.
Because it's the same thing that happened the first, whatever it was, 6 games of last season before he turned it on and had that great second half of the season, which was, you look at it and you're like, hey, the decision making makes a lot of sense here. Mm-hmm. Everything he's doing decision making wise is really, really high level. It's just the execution hasn't been up to par. And then the execution came around last season, and you saw when those two things meet in the middle, you have this great offense and a great quarterback. And again, like you said, it wouldn't surprise you if this happened again, and he started hitting these kind of throws, that he's been a little bit behind on, maybe a little bit underthrown. Like I said, you start hitting those throws and the sky is the limit. So I agree. I don't think these been boneheaded bad plays by him. He understands the offense. He understands what everyone's trying to do on each play. He's getting a little bit better in terms of understanding protections, because it's something that we're going to talk about when we talk about Brock Purdy and protections. But like, he's at least kind of controlling the protections a little bit more than any other quote unquote Shanahan quarterback does. A lot of that is because he played under Aaron Rodgers. So he just does a lot at the line of scrimmage, a lot more than the line of scrimmage than a lot of those quarterbacks are doing, especially at that age. So he's controlling the situation more than he ever has. And like I said, his play style allows him to access the entire field. So you're never in a deficit in terms of what can I call, what routes are going to be available for him when you're LaFleur. And then obviously you add in LaFleur's genius, and you're getting you'll get those box score stats will come around to the vibe based analysis that we're doing right now.
I do think about this offense, and I wonder, like, either the run game is something that I continue to go back to. Like, it's funny, I just did the in the trenches show with Ollie Conley, and we were doing our top 10 offensive lines in the NFL, and he had the Packers as his number 4 offensive line in the NFL. Yeah. I had them at number 10, and I had them at number 10 because they're sort of polarizing, right? They're the number 2 pass blocking offensive line in the NFL, and they're the number 28 run blocking offensive line in the NFL. So I wonder if just the overall efficiency numbers are sort of hanging on the running game, just getting a little bit better. But again, like even that, like it feels like this Packers team is on the cusp of totally exploding on the offensive side of the ball, like becoming a top 5 offense in the NFL. From certainly what we saw this past week. And when you look at like, okay, like they could be a little bit better in the run game. They could be a little bit better run blocking as a group, but you even watch some of their run blocking snaps, and Ollie did a really great job painting this picture. He's like, if there are plays where offensive linemen are climbing or lead blocking or doing something in space to the second level, they're blocking really well when they get to the second level and in space. It's just sort of right off the snap, they're just a little off. I think he used the word clunky. And like that stuff you can fix. So if you're fixing that part of the run game a little bit, you already have Josh Jacobs back there. And if Jordan Love is playing the way that he has been playing over the last couple of weeks, in my opinion, second half of the season, Packers might be a top 3 offense in the NFL, especially if all of their receiving weapons stay healthy. Do you feel the same about that?
Oh, 100%. And I think with the run game, I wonder, I'm just kind of talking out of my ass right now, but I wonder if so much of their run game is probably better, in a sense, quote unquote, like better than the numbers, because they're creating so much, like, in terms of like design and misdirection. I wonder if all those like quote unquote misdirection runs are hitting big, and it's their base stuff that isn't, like the stuff that like LaFleur and whoever the O-line coach is there design on a week-to-week basis is probably really good, and their base stuff is, like you said, probably a little more clunky. So if you can get that, like you're always going to get those great plays out of LaFleur, but if our base stuff comes to a higher level, then yeah, I think we can be a top 5 offense in the league for sure.
All right, we got to talk about Russell Wilson before we dig into that. Best part about football season, especially when you're a Packers fan when it comes to Jordan Love, is checking the post-game stats, right? We talked about how those things are going to be cranked up a little bit. Which of his wide receivers scored a touchdown? You know, did he throw for more or less than 250 yards? Whatever it is, if you think you can pick what's going to happen before kickoff, not just for the Packers, but for any team, you got to play Pick 6 from DraftKings, an official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now. Select between 2 to 6 players, choose if they will have more or less of a stat, and it's just that simple. There you go. There's the bet. For the first time Pick 6 players, you check this out. New customers, they play just $5 on a Pick 6 set, and you get 50 in Pick 6 credits. Whether it's the Packers or any other team out there, if you think that you know what's going to happen before the ball gets kicked off, you got to check out Pick 6. Download the new DraftKings Pick 6 app now. Use the promo code PFF. That's code PFF for new customers. Play just $5 on your first Pick 6 set. You get 50 in Pick 6 credits. Only on DraftKings Pick 6. the crown is yours. If you got a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available with problems with gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Pick Six is not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. One per new customer. Non-withdrawable Pick Six credits expire in 6 months. Limited time offer. You can see terms at picksix.draftkings.com/promos. So Russell Wilson makes his first start for the Pittsburgh Steelers in a bit of a controversial way, right? Going into the week, Justin Fields playing probably the best ball that we have seen Justin Fields play. He's sitting there at 4-2, but going back to the summer and into August, we knew that this was going to be a quarterback competition, and Russ ends up getting hurt. Justin Fields is the starter out of the gate. He plays, I think, better than what we have seen him play, certainly with Chicago. Not that there weren't flashes, but he was putting it together a lot better. So you're 4-2, Justin Fields playing about as good as you could expect from Justin Fields, realistically. And they still make the change. They still make the change to Russell Wilson. A lot of people talked about, okay, well, it's a good decision, it's a bad decision. And before the game even got kicked off, Mike Tomlin said himself, like, hey, I'm the head coach. It's my job to figure out what is the best course of action for this team. We're not just looking to win regular season games. We're looking to get into the playoffs. We're looking to win Super Bowl. So he wanted to find out, is Russ a better quarterback to get us a Super Bowl than the way that we saw Justin Fields play? And when you put it out like that, you go, okay, I guess I understand that. They end up winning against the New York Jets, defending home turf 37-15. Really took it to him. And Russell Wilson in this game, 16 for 29, so a little over 50% completion percentage. The adjusted completion percentage, I believe, was right around 64% when you talk about throwaways and drop passes. 264 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Didn't have a big-time throw or a turnover-worthy play in this game, although I do think that I do think the first moon ball to George Pickens is at least debatable for a big time throw. If you guys want to say that was a big time throw, I recognize you there. Although, it was a little bit behind. He took a little bit of time to stop and get the ball. Whatever. Anyways, what did you think about Russell Wilson in his first start here, Seth? I got to know what you thought just overall of the situation and sort of where the Steelers are at moving forward with him.
Yeah, I think it's still super inconclusive. I think that's kind of where I am, because I think you saw a lot of the same issues that have plagued the Steelers offense. And again, it's probably been a better offense than we thought. And maybe that's not fair then to think, oh, this could be even better. This is maybe just where they are, especially with the talent that surrounds whoever plays quarterback. But you got a good running game, an efficient run game against the Jets. And you got George Pickens making like 3 big contested catches, which were the 3 big plays. And then a Freiermuth kind of contested catch where he dives for the ball. Like, those were the big plays in the passing game. And I don't know if a lot of them were on Russell Wilson. So I look at it like, we're still inconclusive. They get the win. They're 5-2. So they give themselves kind of another week of buffer to see what they really have in Russell Wilson. I guess the thing that scares me still, the receiving core outside of Pickens making super catches is just not there. Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of separation. There's not a lot of open receivers. The play action game, so they actually had the most yards this season off play action, which is something that we talked about them. Hey, like, Arthur Smith has always been known for creating good play action game plans. It hadn't been there the first few weeks. They go and get a lot of yards off of it, though one of those plays is that Pickens kind of back shoulder play where it's kind of like a nominal, not really play action, but we have to chart it like that, and whoever's doing it charts it like as play action. It's not really, it's kind of a fake one. And there was a lot of throws to the flat. You know what I mean? They out leveraged the Jets to the flat with some throws to Darnell Washington and some of the other tight ends. So, yeah, they had a lot of yards on play action, but it's still not those like real open over the middle of the field receivers that Arthur Smith has kind of had throughout his career. So I still think that will regress positively. I said it 3 weeks ago, and that hasn't happened the last 3 weeks, but I'm confident it will eventually happen. And then if those things happen, then it probably doesn't matter which quarterback plays. But I just look at it and I think the ceiling, is like Russell Wilson like a good quarterback anymore? I'm not sure about that. And so don't you want a quarterback that can make plays under pressure and give you more in the run game? That's kind of how I feel about it. Like, both of them aren't great drop back passers right now at their point in their careers. So it's like, well, why not just give me the guy who can actually make plays with his legs if you're not going to get it? Because that's what I said. Like, Russell Wilson was fine, but a lot of those plays are on George Pickens and Freiermuth.
Yes. I think the way that I look at it, I don't know if I'm looking at it through rose-colored glasses or if this is just a glass half full situation with the Steelers, but after watching Russell Wilson, I'm not going to lie, like, I understand the decision even more to see what you have from him, because you mentioned Justin Fields gives you more in the run game. Justin Fields gives you more when it comes to play under pressure because he's got that escapability. He's got the mobility to him, and he was even making decisions when he was escaping and out of the pocket that were better and more consistent than what we even saw from him when he was in Chicago. So all of that is very true about Justin Fields. But I will say this, Russell Wilson, even in just that game, threw with better touch than Justin Fields did. He is a better touch passer. He is more comfortable putting more air under the football than Justin Fields is. So that is a different element of his game that I think he does bring to the drop back passing game that, in my opinion, was visibly different. Now, maybe you're saying to yourself, if our wide receivers are not going to create that separation window, I need a quarterback who is okay not throwing the fastball every time to them, because that's what Justin Fields does. Not that he can't throw with touch. We have seen him do that at times before, but it is not a regularity to his game. He is a fastball pitcher. That is what he does. So even his big-time throws deep down the field, it's a lot of fastball stuff. Whereas Russell Wilson, talk about the moon ball. It's a saying and it's a tag that we have for his throwing style for a reason. It's because he's putting a ton of air under these passes. He is very comfortable, or much more experienced, putting air under the ball and really putting it in a breadbasket deeper down the field. So I wonder if that is actually more beneficial to the wide receiver. So I wonder if that is why you go to Russell Wilson. Now, he had some bad misses in this game, but Seth, I'm not going to lie. I looked at some of those misses, like some of the misses to the flat and him just like missing guys on out routes. And to me, again, maybe I'm looking at this at glass half full and a little naive, but like, I saw that more as first game starting with this group at full NFL regular season speed. Like, he was not in sync with his guys when it came to those like quicker passes, because you got to think about this part too. I think this is a not talked about enough topic when it comes to those shorter passes, either to the flat or especially like those speed outs. If you miss at all, like, that's pick six potential, and that's like game-changing negative play for you. So if you are not incredibly confident that that wide receiver is not only going to be where they're going to be when it comes to like the depth of their route and the timing of their route, but also the deception to get the defensive player off of them a little bit to think that they can't jump that route. I mean, there's so many things that, in my opinion, go into that. So a couple of those misses, I think like 3 or 4 of those passes that I watched where I think people would have watched it and would have been like, Russ is a bum. See, he can't even complete the easy passes. To me, that read more as this is week 1 with this team, and this is something that can get a little bit better. Now, the over the middle of the field stuff, that is always going to be a negative of Russell Wilson's game. I don't think he does it. If you want to do more of that stuff, I think Justin Fields has better potential to be able to hit over the middle of the field. But I was actually really encouraged this past week with how well and how willing Russ was to go to those touch passes. And I think those only get better the more he is out there and plays. So unless he starts throwing catastrophic turnovers, I think we're getting at least 3 to 4 more weeks of Russell Wilson before, week 12. Maybe we're making this decision again. Maybe we're having this conversation again if Russ isn't really playing the right way. But I think he's going to get a fair shot at this like Justin Fields got a fair shot at it.
Yeah, and like you might as well give them the same kind of sample size here. And like and it's like one of those things where like you're getting away with a defense that's playing lights out, a run game that has had some bad weeks but has also had some explosive weeks. Mm-hmm. So, and that's with all the O-line injuries too. So yeah, I think like I said, I'm not. I just think it's inconclusive after Russell Wilson hasn't played for so long. I think the thing that worries me with Russell Wilson is like, we want to believe that it'll get back to Russell Wilson, like 20 whatever it was, 2018, 19, whatever Seahawks, and I just don't. The decline since he busted his finger his last year with Seattle, and then came back early and then just wasn't the same quarterback. I mean, that's really the line in the sand, and he's never been that quarterback again since then. So like I don't want to. I'm trying my best not to hold on to those priors and just think about the Russell Wilson now.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I didn't see anything that made me believe that it was going to be better than that. I also didn't see anything that made me believe it was going to be worse than that. So like that's why I keep saying, like, to me it was very inconclusive. I'd love to see a game where they're in a real battle where they got to throw the ball a lot. Like what quarterback do we get in those situations? That's kind of where I am right now. But I agree. I think there's stuff that he does better than Justin Fields, and stuff that Justin Fields does better than him. And we need to see another 3 weeks of this. Like, let's get four games of Russell Wilson. You're hoping that, again, the defense plays well enough that you can get these W's, which is kind of what's happened this whole season. The classic Mike Tomlin, like offense can't really move the ball consistently, and they win games. So you're setting yourself up to continue to run this experiment. If you had lost and now you're 4-3, and then you lose again next week, you're 4-4. Maybe that's a different story. But now you every time you get this win, you're allowing more buffer. Right. For this experiment, which is great, right? Like that's what you need. Like we can't really do this on 1 game sample sizes. We need a bigger sample size, and they're getting away with it.
Yeah, I think the Steelers are in the perfect spot. And again, like I think I was more on the side of like, what are the Steelers doing? Why are they making this quarterback change? Was the quarterback competition during the summer disingenuous? Like, was it always going to be Russell Wilson's job, no matter how Justin Fields played? Because it's hard to imagine that Justin Fields would have played better realistically than what he did when he was out there. So to go to Russ, I was definitely leaning more towards the camp of like, what is Mike Tomlin doing? How is he doing this? How is he justifying this? And after that game, I am now on the other side of things. I am now on, okay, I think Mike Tomlin made the right decision. I think that, sure, Justin Fields was playing better than what you expected. Do I think that the Steelers are a legitimate playoff contender with Justin Fields? I don't. Could they be one with Russell Wilson? Maybe. And you might as well figure out what you have there, especially when you're sitting there at 4-2. I'm just looking at it right now. According to our power rankings, they had the 25th easiest schedule before week 7. So prior to week 7. So 6 weeks into the year, they had the 25th toughest schedule. So a very easy schedule up to that point. And they were 4-2. They were then inviting the New York Jets, a struggling New York Jets team, to town where they get to host them. Next week, on Monday Night Football, they also host the New York Giants, who are not very good either. So it's like, if there was any time to maybe make this switch and see what you got from a 2-game sample size of Russell Wilson, that's what you want, because moving forward, they have the 3rd most difficult schedule in the NFL. And then if you get past the Giants, I have a hard time believing that the Steelers wouldn't have the number 1 hardest schedule in the NFL moving forward from that point on in the season. Because after the Giants game next week, they are traveling to Washington, and then it's the Ravens, the Browns, the Bengals, the Browns, the Eagles, the Ravens, the Chiefs, and the Bengals. Like, that sucks. That is a brutal schedule. So you might as well take this little gap that you have and put Russell Wilson into the game and figure it out. And then sort of as you have your struggles and have you, like you said, have your buffer zone of wins, you can really make that quarterback decision once you get into the teeth of that schedule. So that's what it's like moving forward for the Steelers. So,
like, the Steelers have a history of, like, the recent history of, like, having some kind of times where they get out the come out the gate pretty quickly, and then the teeth of the schedule kind of comes to hit them in the face. So I hope that doesn't happen again, because I really like this team. I like watching Justin Fields play quarterback, even though it's maddening at times. It's just like, and I really like watching the defense, especially the D line. But yeah, I think you're at least giving yourself some buffer here with the Giants game coming up. You want Russell Wilson to really look good in this game, to give yourself something. You do. Like, let me really see what's going on. Let me see what happens when he's got to work through progressions. Let me see what happens when, your 4 big plays are all contested catches plus a DPI on a contested play. Like, I want to see what happens in this offense when those plays aren't there. Maybe the running game's not going very well, and then I'm ready to make a decision. So maybe we'll talk about it next Tuesday as well.
Yeah, no, I think will be something that we'll certainly monitor as the season goes on. But I'm going to be honest with you. If they win on Monday night against the Giants, which I'll be picking them to win, they'll be 6-2 on the season.
I know.
I think they're making the playoffs. Like, I think that they are because then the last 8 games they play, for as tough as that schedule is, it's Mike Tomlin, it's this defense. I think they'll go 4-4 during that stretch, and 4-4 makes you, that would be 10-6, right? Well, wait, there's 17 games, so I'm missing one. So it would have to be 9. So even if they're 4-5, 10-7, I think you sneak into the playoffs if you're 10-7, if you're the Steelers. So what you brought up, the buffer of how many wins they have to this point allows them to be able to make this decision with the quarterbacks. And I don't know, I think everybody was grabbing their pitchforks and they're like, how could Mike Tomlin do this? What's he doing? He might be good at this, folks. He might be pretty good at this. I don't know. Probably let it play out.
Dude, Steelers fans thinking that they should fire Mike Tomlin, it's crazy.
Any Steelers fan out there that thinks that they should fire Mike Tomlin is doesn't like to win. That's
I mean, that's it. Like, I think Chris said it on Sunday night, but like 80% of the league would go after him right now if Mike Tomlin was available.
Immediately.
Like, this is a team that has not had good quarterback play since before the Ben Roethlisberger elbow injury, which is like 2018 or something like that, 2019.
Yeah.
So they win games.
He figures it out.
I don't know how, but they win games.
Speaking of not knowing how to win games, Brock Purdy. No, I don't know. That might not have been the right transition. I don't know. I might want to take that one back. But before we get to Brock Purdy, got to tell people that this podcast is brought to you by our friends over at Cherry Bundy. It's the sports drink that is fueling the health-lete revolution. It's got natural products, natural ingredients, no added sugars to it. The tart cherries, it's the highest amount of antioxidants of fruits and vegetables in the world in those tart cherries. Natural anti-inflammatory with incredible benefits, including but not limited to reduce soreness, increase recovery, natural help with sleep improvement, natural help with it when it comes to immunity support. This is fantastic. If you live an active lifestyle at all whatsoever, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see it on the screen. It's not just the recovery stuff, but the recovery stuff is great. I've had that one. They also have a protein shake. They've got stuff to help you with sleep specifically. So they've got a lot of different products, whether it's the gel, whether it's the liquid, whatever it is, you could check it out. It's used by nearly 500 collegiate and professional sports teams, including every NFL team. 66 out of 67 Power 4 conference football teams. And that last one needs to get on board because this stuff's fantastic. Products are available everywhere. Amazon, cherrybunny.com, retailers like Publix and Kroger. So check your local places, see if they have it there. But if they don't, you can go online. Like I said, even if it's just you're going for a walk around the neighborhood, or if you're somebody that's in the gym 5 days a week and anywhere in between, Cherry Bunny can really help you out. Whatever your goals are for your active lifestyle, for your fitness, they've got the products to be able to help you. Check them out, cherrybunny.com. It's great stuff. All right, Brock Purdy. Chiefs beat the Niners. Unfortunately, not much of a shock because it feels like Patrick Mahomes cannot lose to the San Francisco 49ers, which...
Patrick Mahomes cannot lose in general. That's the problem.
I mean, that's very true. Dude, okay,
for the rest of the league.
I'll be as short as I can with this. So I have I don't know what to call it, like a friendship parlay, which it sounds dumb, but me and 5 of my buddies, every single week, we each pick one game and we throw $10 on it. And we're all like rooting for it. Obviously, like if it hits, it's a big deal because it's a 6-leg parlay, whatever. Last week, the Chiefs were the last team that we needed to hit on this 6-game parlay. And it was just money line. We just needed the Chiefs to win. And obviously they won, so we won the bet, and it was fantastic. But as the game is going on, I mean, this is San Francisco 49ers. It's a really great team. It's a Super Bowl rematch. It's in San Francisco. The Chiefs, they have so much less, it feels like every single year. Like, how much can Patrick Mahomes do with less? We were sweating it out. And after the game got kicked, we're sitting here in the chat, and we're going, is this what it's like to be a Chiefs fan? This is fantastic. Every single time something needs to happen, it just happens. Like even the turnover at the goal line, it's like we were sweating at that point in the game, and all of a sudden, boop! All right, turnover, Chiefs ball. There we go, fantastic. Chiefs fans, you have a wonderful life. I know it's stressful when it's basically like Super Bowl or bust, but holy cow, it was fun being a Chiefs fan for a week. Let me tell you.
The Chiefs are this insane team where whenever they need 6 yards, they get 7. Whenever they need 4 yards, they get 5. Whenever they need 10 yards, they get 11. Whenever they need, 2, they get 3. They're the most like efficient team that's like we've ever seen in the NFL history. And a lot of that is Patrick Mahomes. And you would probably think, like, if you looked at those numbers for any other team, you would say, this is not sustainable.
No.
But it's Patrick Mahomes and
Yep.
it's Andy Reid. And it's like, well, I guess it is, man. It's crazy. It makes no sense to me, but they're good. They're good. Patrick Mahomes, man.
So obviously, this isn't a segment about Patrick Mahomes. We can talk about him forever, but we are going to talk about the quarterback on the other side of things. Brock Purdy in this game, 17 for 31, over 200 passing yards, no passing touchdowns, 3 interceptions here in this game. But I think, Seth, the bigger story is not necessarily how Brock Purdy played in this game, although we obviously are going to talk about that a little bit here. It's the fact that Brandon Ayuk now down for the year, torn ACL. You got Deebo Samuel. He was dealing with an illness. He was not able to play. Christian McCaffrey has not played at all yet this year. Juwan Jennings missed his game with a hip injury. I know that Juwan Jennings should be back. Ricky Pearsall, who they drafted very high, should be able to now step in. That's the whole reason why you draft a player like this, is so hopefully he's able to come in and play well. And he was fantastic at Florida, so I think that he will come in and play well. Now, as well as a Deebo Samuel or Brandon Ayuk, yeah, probably not, but it will at least be serviceable. What's the outlook of this team, though? What's the outlook of Brock Purdy? How much faith do you have in this team and what he's able to do with at least Brandon Ayuk down for the year now?
I'm super interested in what this offense is going to look like going forward. You lose, like you said, all those guys. I won't mention them again. Deebo Samuel, find out he has pneumonia. He's in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe, in a week, is he going to play? I guess, but I mean, I don't really know. I'm not a doctor. I don't know how pneumonias work. So, and even if he does play, is he going to be at full health? So now you're in a situation where, like you said, you're expecting Juwan Jennings to play. But after that, there's just a lot of unproven guys, and Ricky Pearsall and the high pick, and Chris Conley and the other guy Cowing, who's a high pick, so or a rookie. So you're looking at the thing and saying well, how could we beat man coverage? That is kind of the thing that I'm super interested in. Your 2 best man coverage players, Christian McCaffrey and Ayuk, are. One of them is for sure not playing the rest of the year. The other one, it wouldn't surprise me if we don't see Christian McCaffrey for a long time this season if he does play. So, where are your beaters? Where are your man coverage beaters? And what happens a lot in this offense is, now, the first thing I'll say is most teams do not play man coverage against the San Francisco 49ers because you have a lot of motion, stacks, bunches. It doesn't really allow you to play a lot of man coverage because they're going to try and create miscommunication in who's covering who, and the defense is left kind of uncovering guys or playing with bad leverage or stuff like that. So there's that aspect. The other thing is they run the ball so well that they're very rarely in third and medium or third and long, and that's when you see less man coverage. When you're in third and shorts, you're going to get man coverage. The statistics back this up. Or third and medium to short, you're going to get man coverage. And they used to have the guys who were were able to win man coverage in those situations. So you're running the ball well. They're still running the ball well, even with Jordan Mason in there, because the offensive line, the play calling is they're a great run blocking unit as a whole. So you're getting into these. They're always going to be in these third and quote unquote manageable situations. Are they as manageable now when you don't have Christian McCaffrey and Brandon Ayuk? That is where I'm looking at it like, I don't know what this offense can look like. I think that with Purdy's kind of playmaking ability that he's always kind of been this player, but he's obviously showing a lot more, throwing the ball more downfield, scrambling more, doing all that stuff. It's been a little hit or miss. But I think they're going to need that to be hit a lot more than it is miss going forward. And yeah, I think those are kind of my concerns going with this offense. I think there's protection issues as well. They're lucky that they don't have to play Steve Spagnuolo and that defense again until maybe the Super Bowl, because he just gives them so much trouble, and it gives them trouble in other defensive and the other defensive coordinators like don't want to do. But yeah, that's kind of where I am with this offense. Like, it is going to be on probably, Shanahan just to continue to create first read open receivers, and then Purdy when it's not there because they're not getting the separation that they're used to, making plays, which he has done more this year. But yeah, making plays out of structure.
Yeah, so I think that I definitely agree with you. This has been the best year yet that we have seen from Brock Purdy when it comes to how much is on his plate. How much of the percentage is he a piece of the pie for the offense's success this year? To me, it's at its highest percent that we have seen over the last 3 years in total. This is the third year on his rookie contract. He's got one more year, obviously not as a first-round pick. The fourth year would be the last year on his rookie deal. And we're having conversations about, okay, well, what do you do with this guy? Because it seems like every starting quarterback that signs is signing somewhere for $50-ish million per year at this point when you talk about guys that are capable of winning a Super Bowl. Well, there's a lot of team effort that goes into winning a Super Bowl, but Brock Purdy's, a couple of plays away from being a reigning Super Bowl quarterback right now. And he's not. Patrick Mahomes is for another time, but he's close, right? He was there. He operated this offense very, very well. And I think obviously 49ers fans don't want to go through the injuries that they are going through, but I think from an objective standpoint, this is a really great analysis second half of the year now of whether or not you think that this guy is irreplaceable to the point where you would give him a monster contract, because that's going to be a pivotal part of the 49ers team building moving forward. It's not just about, well, you either have a quarterback or you don't, and you do with Brock Purdy, so you sign him. You can operate like that, but then you have to understand what that does. Brock Purdy would then be very clearly, without question, the highest paid player on the team by a wide margin. And at that point, over the next, it doesn't necessarily have to be so drastic immediately, but I would say 2 years, 3 years, 4 years removed from when he signs that deal, all of a sudden now you start having to make his squeezes. So you have to think about, does our Super Bowl window stay open with Purdy if we sign him to this monster contract? Do we believe in the team building, particularly with him? Because it feels as though before this, it was like, okay, we are building our Super Bowl window through our defense, through the defensive studs that we have, and Fred Warner and Nick Bosa and guys like that. And then on the offensive side of the ball, it's Trent Williams, it's Christian McCaffrey, it's Deebo Samuel, it's Brandon Ayuk, it's George Kittle, it's guys like that. You will then have to make tough decisions on those players. And by tough decisions, I mean you can't keep all of them. Trent Williams is getting older, so he's not going to be around there forever. And then you're just not going to be able to have those studs. So can you draft some? Yes, you can. And that becomes even more required when you have a quarterback that is no longer playing like a franchise caliber quarterback on a rookie contract, rather a franchise caliber quarterback on a franchise caliber quarterback type of deal. So I agree with you completely. I think that you kind of talked about it from a what does the offense look like for this team overall? Mainly looking at it from this year, do they survive? Is it something where we can be confident in this team making the playoffs, being a deep playoff run team, depending on how Brock Purdy plays? I'm looking at it from a little bit further out, especially as a draft guy and a team building guy. I'm looking at 2, 3, 4 years down the road. And if Brock Purdy is able to play at a still fantastic level here without some of his top playmakers, then I think you got no choice but to make that decision to sign him, because you believe that he can be that guy for you. But once you do that, you just put your franchise in a completely different situation, and you have to be okay with navigating that, and you have to be even more okay with saying, this is who we build the team around moving forward, because you are paying him like that. So that's a massive part of this as well. It is not just what is Brock Purdy like this year. The second half of the season now is a massive evaluating tool for how long the 49ers winning window and Super Bowl window is going to stay open after 2024.
Trevor, you cannot pay me enough money to wade into the Brock Purdy contract discourse. Like, there's no chance I'm getting into it. I'm gonna say sure, bud, and I'm gonna tell you about their protection issues right now, because I don't want to talk about it.
That's fine. I did it for you. Right there. Do you have any other non-Brock Purdy takes that you want to get out before we wrap up here?
Yeah. So like, the defense is also injured. Like, let's not forget that they're going to be in games. Like, there's no getting out to a lead and sustaining a lead throughout the game, because the defense is playing so well. The run defense, I think, is especially going to be problematic going forward without Hargrave, and you still don't have Dre Greenlaw back, though hopefully he will come back. You're without Hufanga, though Mike Mustafa did a lot of Hufanga impersonations in this game against the Chiefs last week, which is nice to see. Cornerback room is also outside of Travarius Ward interesting. So, but yeah, I'll talk about some protections before we get out of here, because I think it's super interesting. I talked about it with Jordan Love. Jordan Love having a little bit more control. One of their issues, and Spags is the guy who always puts them on the spot for it, is they call the protection in the huddle. They go out there and they run the play. And when you watch, and so this week they're playing against Dallas on Sunday Night Football on NBC, 8:20 p.m. Eastern time. Dak will go to the line of scrimmage and look at the especially on third down. He'll look at the defense. They might have a motion, but really it's like, we're pretty static. We're going to look at the defense and we're going to make a decision on how we protect it. I'm not going to have free rushers. If I cannot throw hot, I'm not going to throw hot. The 49ers kind of sit there and they set the protection in the huddle, and then they kind of run that play. Now, a lot of that has to do with they want to be a motion team even on third down. Top 5 motion rate in general, and then top 5 motion rate on third down. So when you do all this motion on third down and you're changing the picture before the snap, you don't really want to be a team that you don't really have the time to change the protection and get into the right protection based on the defensive look. So they live in the world where, hey, for the most part, we're going to protect it and we're going to be okay against most teams. But Spags has shown that he will get a free rusher. And this year they've been a little worse. They're like top 10 in allowing free rushers this season. So that's really where the issues are going to be, and where teams can get after them, especially when you don't have that quick man-beating, quick hot route answer without Ayuk and especially without Christian McCaffrey. I keep going back to, I'm super interested to see how this offense looks going forward. I think there's a lot to still like about the offense, but it's up in the air.
It will be an interesting second half evaluation for this team, no matter what, especially because, after that loss, San Francisco sitting here at 3-4. And, a lot of people talked about this team to maybe make it back to the Super Bowl and be the clear winner of this division. Well, they're below 500 now, and some of their stars either haven't been out there or are not going to be out there for the rest of the season. So we will see what Kyle Shanahan is made of, what Brock Purdy is made of, and it'll make for an interesting second half of the season there for the 49ers for Sure. Appreciate everybody watching and listening to the show, getting involved in the chat, getting involved in the comments. We appreciate it a lot. For Seth, Galina, I am Trevor Sikkema, saying we will be back with you guys same time for another quarterback showcase next week. We'll see you guys then.